You're listening to Rendezvous with the Writer with Bobbi Jean and Jim Bell, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rendezvous with the Writer, where readers and writers meet, and story is everything. We're your hosts tonight, Jim and Bobbi Bell.
And we are delighted that you're with us.
We are.
And that was our opening music, was the Hot Texas Swing Band. Hot Texas is the name of that song. And we sure thank you all for tuning in again today. This is our first anniversary show.
It is.
Yeah.
1 year.
So we are actually now in the first show of year number 2. And we really thank you for coming along with us. We're really having a good time, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. So who do we have with us tonight?
Special guest Henry Park.
Yeah.
Film editor of True West magazine. And all the way from Germany, Manuela.
Yes. And there she is, across the sea. Manuela Schneider is with us as well. Welcome to both of you. We'll start a little bit with you, Henry. Henry, do you want to say hello to Manuela?
I sure do. Hello, Manuela.
Hi, Henry. Nice to see you in person.
Yes, we've been Facebook friends for quite a while, but
yes,
now we can actually talk and such. Yes.
Yeah, so fun. So Henry is, as we said a moment ago, he is the film editor for True West magazine. And we have a couple of issues here. This is the current one, I think, right? Yes,
right.
This is the current one. And then Manuela happens to be featured in this one from June. So we'll talk about that one in a minute. But Henry, so we've been thrilled. Henry's been with us the first Thursday of every month, I think, for 8 years.
Yeah, forever almost.
It's like, unless he had a film festival or red carpet event or something like that took him away. And so we're delighted to have you back with us again today. So Henry, what's happening? Give us a little bit about what's happening in Western film and TV and such.
Oh, I'll be very happy to. Well, of course, the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild strikes continue. The good news is that writers and producers are going to talk about talking tomorrow. In the meantime, the good news for viewers is there is some good new Western entertainment emerging from the pipeline made before the strike and ready to watch on cable or streaming. They're all contemporary Westerns, and all are returns. Elmore Leonard's Justified is back, relocated from Louisiana to Detroit, though it's actually shot in Chicago. And Timothy Oliphant is Raylan Givens. Again, he's the only returning character. I've seen the first 3 episodes. Raylan is trying to deliver his teenage daughter to boarding school when he gets pulled into a series of crimes coiling around the murder of a dirty judge. I'm enjoying it, and I advise everyone to set their DVRs because it's an FX Hulu show, and you never know how much they'll let you see on FX before you'll have to subscribe to Hulu to see the end. Kind of like Reservation Dogs, which just began their 3rd and final season this week. Everyone tells me it's great, but it's only on Hulu, so I've got to believe them. Now, Dark Winds, based on the Tony Hillerman books, returned this week for a 2nd season on AMC and AMC Plus. So again, set your DVRs. Zahn McClarnon and Kiowa Gordon are back again as Joe Leaphorn and Jim Chi. And this season, A. Martinez is also on board. This one is based on Hillerman's People of Darkness. And while I said it was contemporary, it's actually set, like last season, in the early 1970s. The TCM is having their annual Summer Under the Stars event all this August. That's where they show 24 hours of different movie star every day, including a lot of Westerns. I suggest going to their website and printing out the schedule. It's Stella Stevens today, and you just missed Ballad of Cable Hogue. But coming up are Errol Flynn, including Rocky Mountain, his best Western, Robert Ryan, Rhonda Fleming, Alan Ladd, yes, they are showing Shane, James Stewart, Ernest Borgnine, and folks who don't always get the attention they deserve, like A Whole Day of Woody Strode, A Whole Day of High Noon's Katie Hirado. I don't know if I said that right, Katie Hirado. And they're doing a Barbara Stanwyck Day, but in the Westerns.
Oh,
they got all her comedies and stuff and dramas, but I forgive them. Check it out. Oh, my last recommendation is a new Blu-ray release from Ben Modell's Undercrank Productions. He's the silent movie accompanist who kept spirits up all through COVID by posting and accompanying different silents on YouTube as the Silent Comedy Watch Party, which he's still doing. He just released a double feature of rarely seen Tom Mix movies, Sky High and The Big Diamond Robbery. And if you think silents are fuzzy and scratchy, you have to see these. The quality is stunning. They're both thrilling and just fun movies. Sky High was shot mostly in the Grand Canyon, and it's incredibly beautiful. Tom Mix was the original Tom Cruise when it comes to doing his own dangerous stunts, and you'll love them. And please check out the September True West with my article on the ever-expanding Taylor Sheridan universe. And please read my newest INSP blog, where I compare John Ford's Stagecoach and the two remakes to decide which of the three is best. You can get one guess. And you can read all about this, thank you, and so much more at www.henryswesternroundup.blogspot.com.
and there you go.
Double bill, which I highly recommend.
How fun. I just finished watching the first season of Dark Winds. And I did subscribe to AMC because we had remembered seeing the first couple of episodes, and then, I don't know, we lost it. I don't know what it was on initially. And I'm very eager now to watch season 2. So season 2 is just out now, is what you're saying?
Right, they just aired. The very first episode was yesterday, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we know what we're doing later. Well, let's see. We mentioned before that Henry and our guest tonight, our award-winning author guest, Manuela Schneider, we all have one person, at least at the moment, that we can think of in common. And he's very connected to film and very connected to Tombstone, the movie, and anything and everything Western, right, Manuela?
He's a walking encyclopedia on it.
Yeah, we're talking about our friend Peter Sherayko. Henry, do you remember when and how you met? Was it through us?
Absolutely. No, I met you folks the same day, I think. It was because it was at the Santa Clarita Cowboy Festival when they were doing at Melody Ranch. And I met Peter and introduced myself, and he said, we need to talk. You need to see my guns. You need to see my saddles and stuff like that. And the next thing I knew, he got me onto my very first Western set, which was a picture called Yellow Rock, which incidentally starred Zahn McFlarnon, who's we're just talking about in Dark Winds.
How interesting.
And so he has been a great friend to me, and probably gotten me onto the sets of a dozen pictures that he's been working on. So great guy.
Yeah. So knowledgeable. And we actually haven't officially introduced Manuela. Do you want to take a moment and let everybody know a little something about Manuela, and then we'll have you tell us how you met Peter Sherayko.
Well, okay, I'm Manuela Schneider, born, raised, and based in Germany.
We got it. We got it. Here,
okay. That's great. You go ahead.
We're a little bit, and then you take it.
And then you take it over. Here's what we have.
Great.
Drawing energy from strong pioneer women of our past, author Manuela Schneider is driven to create captivating sagas that ultimately leave readers wondering, will the story continue? To date, Schneider has written 4 novels that feature powerful female characters immersed in a battle against hardship, riddles, deception, while searching for true love and a better life. Her first composition as a songwriter 2021's Norris Candle has achieved recognition and won numerous awards in Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and Europe. The song is played in 7 countries worldwide. The award-winning Western music video Miner's Candle is her first project as a filmmaker.
Now an award-winning filmmaker. And we're going to be talking very shortly, in just a couple of moments, we will be focusing on one of her books, The Arma del Diablo, The Cult of Destiny. And if you're watching the show or you're listening live or you're listening to the podcast, you need to write this title down because you will want this book. Take it from us. You will want this book. Well, we'll talk about it more in a moment. So, Manuela, I know that you have a long history with Tombstone, and
Yes.
you also have a long history with this gentleman that we're talking about, Peter Sherayko. Do you remember how you met?
I met him on Facebook, like many people do. And I remember he left a comment under the first script and lead role I was engaged with about a video production called One Day Only, and it was Big Nose Kate. And Peter, being a perfectionist in outfits and historical correct weapons and everything, so he commented underneath it, "Nice try." I'm like, So I commented underneath that, coming from you, I consider that a true compliment. That's how we met. And so we have been commenting under each other's stuff on Facebook on and off. And I met him in person in 2019 at the Western Writers Convention. And we had been more in touch on Facebook then. And I came to the convention and I hired a friend of mine with his camera to take pictures of all the authors and to provide them with pictures of the event of us visiting old Tucson studios. So Peter, with his unlit cigar and his buckskin jacket, stood there and he said, "Wait a minute, are you telling me you brought your own guy with camera for covering this event?" And I said, "Yeah, lady, you got style." And from that moment, he was really helpful with whatever question I had. And we are probably working together on the next movie project I'm planning if I come across the hurdle of raising the budget, which is always the top theme in movie productions. But I started to learn that he is really a walking encyclopedia. It's like unbelievable what the guy knows about period correct guns, holsters, dresses, saddles, and the collection he has in California it's just out of this world. And I started at the beginning, I saw him as a critical person. And after a while, I understood he has every right to be that critical because, oh my God, the knowledge is unbelievable. He is one person that keeps that genre alive in such a successful way. And every Western author has to be grateful for people like Peter Sherayko.
Henry, I know that you've been covering the movie Tombstone, which of course Peter did have a role in it. And then he wrote one of the best known, his book, Tombstone Guns and Gear, is all about what was proper.
Right.
And I know that you shared with me that you just had a very interesting interview with someone that it'll be out in print in can you say?
I'm not exactly sure when the issue comes out, but I'm sure you're talking about my interview with Dana Delaney.
Yes, with Dana Delaney.
Talking about her role in Tombstone. And we have a Tombstone issue coming out very, very soon. I'm thinking it's the October issue.
October, I think October. Is October the next one?
Yeah, this is
October.
right here.
I got to talk to her just before the Screen Actors Guild went on strike. Because actually it's been kind of rough since then. I had several interviews lined up with various people about projects that are coming up, and we had to cancel all of them until the strike's over, because you can't give publicity to new projects.
How interesting. How interesting.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
It's
But
funny.
you're still writing.
I am, but I'm not writing for the screen. So
Right.
what I'm writing doesn't fall. And I am a striking WGA member.
Okay.
But the writing that I'm doing is for print and for the internet, so it does not, and it's not for acting. So
Yeah.
it really isn't affected.
It's
Luckily.
very interesting. Do you have?
Well,
Jump right in
let's
there.
get back to Manuela.
Yeah.
Manuela, tell us how your interest in the West started.
Yeah.
You're clear over there in Germany, and we were talking the other night, and how interested people in your country, get into the American West. So how did it all start for you?
Well, I started like many kids in Germany. I mean, those days, nowadays, they're into computer, but I started reading Karl May books, like my entire generation, I think. And sooner or later, I think at age 10, I found out the dude made up everything, and he has never been to the Wild West. Well, boy, was I disappointed. I wanted to learn the truth. So I bought my first nonfiction book about Sitting Bull when I was 12. And I grew up with watching shows like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Little House on the Prairie, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. They showed all those shows. And one channel still shows them, and I still watch them. But then, when you're finished with school, I learned my job, and I worked and lived 6-7 years in the tropics, Far East. And I had never visited America until 96. So in 96, I finally decided I'm done with beach and tropical life, and I want to see the other side of the pond for a change, and flew over. And I booked a Southwest round trip, and I set foot into Arizona. I saw places like Grand Canyon, and I was hooked. It was like as if you enter a soul home. And it brought back all those childhood memories about the Western, about the American natives, about the cowboys. So in 97, a year later, I booked a vacation on a dude ranch 5 miles out of Tombstone, and boy, I was done. I came back a few weeks later for a seasoned job at the dude ranch, and I met my best friend ever there, an old, stubborn, rugged, spur-making cowboy named Jim Barker. We hit off 23 years, amazing friendship, and he passed away on cancer 2 years ago. He's still sadly missed. I can show you when I write books. This is Mr. I hope you see it because of the light, Mr. Jim Barker. He's with me every day. I write on my books, and to honor this friendship, I came up with the idea to write a book, a story with him as a lead character. That's how I started. That's how I started being a Western author. And I found a soul home in doing it. It warms my heart. It makes me happy. It completes me. That's how I got to step into the wild, wild west.
Very good.
How often are you able to come here?
It depends now. At least once a year, but last year it was like twice. I was blocked from flying into the US for 2 full years because of COVID. Non-European was allowed to fly in. But generally 2 to 3 times a year. And I plan to come over more often on a longer stretch, like 3 months on a stretch. At the moment, I still cannot do it because I'm the caretaker of my mother, who is dying of terminal cancer. So as long as she's alive, I keep it short visits because I'm her only child and she's my mom. So, but once she passes away, I will be in the States more often, longer period of time.
When you write, do you write in German or in English, or do you kind of write one and translate? How do you tell us about that? To have two languages you write in.
Actually, Ama del Diablo was written in German first, and I translated it back into English, probably giving nightmares to my editor regarding my school grammar. But all the other books I wrote them in English first, and people ask me why that. It's the harsher way, it's the more rocky road because you're of German heritage, and it's two reasons why I do it. It's first of all, the history happened during the pioneer days in pioneer towns. It would feel awkward for me to tell them in German because they happened in English.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest reason is that I'm living a dream and I had to come across the pond to be able to live that dream. And I'm very, very grateful to the US for that. So the least I can do, if I want to reach readers in the United States, if I want to achieve something in the United States, the least I can do is learn the language and use it, because I have to honor the people I try to approach with my work.
Mm-hmm.
And I honor them by using their language.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot expect them to learn German. Mm-hmm. It's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the two reasons why I mainly write in not my mother tongue.
Yeah, and you're writing about you have this book goes from a modern time to a past time to a modern time, but you're writing about saddles and firearms and mining and things that have a vocabulary attached to them that some of us wouldn't necessarily even have. I wouldn't know what to call certain things.
What's that mean? What is that?
What is that? What's that? Who's a McGutchie? What's that? So I would imagine when you're having to write about that, I would guessing you must have some really good people you can contact and say, does this sound right? Does this read right? Do you have folks that you can bounce things off of when it's that technical kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, being the only German member of Western Writers of America has helped me a lot, because I have a lot of author friends. And I catch myself not using anymore, hey, I think it's this and this. I come up with, I reckon, I'm like, the more you write about it, the more you get used to it. And Peter Shareko, if I say like, hey, Peter, what's the meaning of that word? He is an encyclopedia, and he has a huge library on that as well. Mm-hmm. And it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun also, So every book contains a lot of research, because I love to use characters that really lived, or buildings that really existed or still exist, like the Birdcage Theater. Times, events that took place. So although I write historical fiction, a lot of it is nonfiction in it. Mm-hmm. So the readers are so qualified in their knowledge. Don't you dare to use a wrong gun, because they write to you like you're writing about a gun 1873. It wasn't invented until 84. And
everybody's an expert.
Yes,
you stand corrected, yes. And I actually love these kind of messages, because, hey, that shows the people really read what you wrote. So I'm learning from them. I'm very honored to learn from them. Mm-hmm. And funny thing is, after we published Ama del Diablo, I got a message on Facebook, Manuela, the gun you wrote about in that book sold in an auction 5 days after publishing, in the same auction in which they sold the gun that killed Billy the Kid. And it sold for $236,000. So that was an amazing thing for me. That was almost eerie,
yes.
As if the gun speaks back to you.
Yes.
So it's exciting, but it is a lot of research. People underestimate how much work goes into a book. Approximately 500-600 hours of work. If you're lucky, you get away with 500-600 hours. Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a very quick break. We've been talking about books, and Manuela's books are all available on our affiliate page of bookshop.org. So let's take a listen to that ad spot. We'll be right back.
Story is everything. Find a great one on Out West Shop's bookshop. Go to outwestshop.com. Find books and CDs on the menu. Choose Shop Out West on bookshop.org. Browse through featured authors on Rendezvous with a Writer. Explore curated book lists and our featured picks. Add in note cards, calendars, and jigsaw puzzles. One-stop shopping for great gifts. Use the search box to find thousands more titles. Make the switch. Your purchase supports us as independent booksellers. That's our story.
And we're back.
Welcome back to Rendezvous with a Writer with special guests Henry Park and Manuela Schneider.
We're talking about, oh my goodness, who would have thought that there could be a connection between Johnny Ringo and the devil? Maybe.
It might be. He wasn't always a real nice guy, was he?
Manuela, this is a fascinating read. We don't want to do a lot of spoiler alerts. I thought I could say devil because it's kind of in the title.
Yes.
But you want to give us a little bit of a storyline and maybe how did the idea come to you? What inspired you?
Well, the idea came from all the visits to Tombstone because there's still a big discussion going on about Johnny Ringo's very strange circumstances of his death. People say he committed suicide. Some people say he got murdered. The people that might had enough reason to murder him, there's about 4 or 5 people in discussion who could have killed him. Unlike the movie, probably not Doc Holliday, because he was 700 miles in New Mexico at the time of the murder. So you would have had to have a horse as fast as an airplane to be there in time to shoot the guy. But it's a secret he took into his grave. Did he kill himself? Did he get shot? So it was a thing that always made me wonder as well. And then I always had one of my favorite books, a big neck for the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. I love those secret church archives, riddles. And now a riddle is Johnny Ringo's death as well. And that's how the idea was born, to connect these two topics. The story is actually, the main character is a Colt 45. A cult that is truly existing. As I said, it got sold a few days after we published the book. One of the non-stop documented historic weapons that is non-stop documented for close to 140 years, fortunately. The story is about a young weapon expert who gets hired, his best paying contract ever, by a weird collector. He gets hired to find that specific Johnny Ringo's Colt. And searching for the weapon, he comes across certain tragedies, eerie events, tragedies, and the more he researches, the more he dislikes what he finds out. So Michael Kent, the weapon expert, has to travel all the way to Europe, searching for that weapon. And sooner or later, he finds out that his client is not a crazy collector, good-paying dude, but probably a severe danger to his life. And there's something wrong with that cult, something severely wrong. And it is about a Colt 45 with the original serial number 222. And the serial number gives the idea that it was produced in the first year of Colt manufacturing in 1873. And that was an order strictly for the Army, because they needed a faster working, accurate pistol to battle in the Apache Wars. The Apache, I mean, they held with a handful of warriors, they held the army in check. So it's not known where Johnny Ringo got the gun, because it was not available for public until 1876. Nobody was allowed to buy it. So either he stole it, or he got it from a killed soldier, or from an Apache who killed a
Apache.
soldier. I mean, like, Johnny Ringo was a crook. If he wanted to lay hands on something, he just took it. So when he was found dead out at Turkey Creek, it was returned to his sister with a few possessions he had. And he was in the 5 generations, he was in the family's possessions.
So interesting. And the number on it is 222, but we readers, we see that number change.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
It kind of goes and comes, and
Yep.
it's part of the mystery.
What's so interesting? 222 is kind of symbolic, and it's the birthday of the gun designer's mother. So it's kind of interesting how that number came about. But you're right, it does fade off into another number, which
it's a mystical gun.
Yeah. We can't talk about that.
You have a couple really very interesting women characters in the book. I really liked Elizabeth. She's kind of early in the book, and then we meet Frida. I think it's Frida.
Yeah.
It's so fun because Michael, your main character, Michael, comes to meet her, and he's kind of expecting from phone conversation and such. He has a vision in his mind of what she'll look like, and what she'll be like, and then you, the author, kind of blow us away because Frida is she's a hot chick. She's a really cool gal.
Yeah, she sure is, isn't she?
Yeah, she's about my age. She's just a tad, maybe just a tad older than I am, but I really liked her because so often women of that age are not necessarily portrayed to be the kind of gal, the kind of woman that she is, and it was kind of an unexpected surprise. I, like Michael, was kind of like, oh.
Michael is a handsome dude. But Frida is a typical of German heritage immigrant, and like an elder lady, but still keeps trim and slim and works in the yard, and like thousands of Germans taking pride in her flower garden. And she's the only alive relative of the gunsmithy that who created that very gun. So he has to get in touch with Frida, searching for more clues where to find that particular cult. And he comes across the fact that there's one relative left, still alive, in Fredericksburg, Texas. And Fredericksburg is very, very German, so it was obvious for me to use a German lady, and yeah, she's a brave woman, and she tries to set the record straight for her ancestor who got into a bad situation, and it took some generations for her to set the record straight for him.
And then you really enjoyed all of the references to the Benedictine. How did you connect up with the Benedictine monastery and that gorgeous library?
I have a cousin who is a Benedictine monk. I come from a Roman Catholic family with priests and nuns and cousins, and he's a cousin who is a Benedictine in Switzerland in the monastery of Einsiedeln. They have a huge Baroque library, one of the most beautifulest libraries in the world, and I'm very lucky to have access. Now, being a caretaker for a dying parent is a quite huge challenge mentally. So whenever I feel that the burden is getting too heavy on my shoulders, I go to that monastery. It's only like 1 hour, 10 minutes drive from where I live. And I stay there for a day, 2, 3 days, as long as I can get away from home. And I meditate, I pray, I dug into the library, and the burden is much lighter. So I came across the fact that the Benedictine really collected knowledge, unbelievable. The monastery is 1,000 years old this year. So you feel 1,000 years of worshiping, 1,000 years of biblical studies, we built up a scriptorium, an antique scriptorium, which was the room where the monks hand copied the Bibles. They have 300,000 books in the library, and it's a very spiritual place to be. And since they give a lot of strength back to me, and it's such an inspiring place, I just couldn't do anything else, but I had to put them in the book.
Mhm.
So one of the characters is a monk named Alexander, and he is indeed my character's cousin, but he's my cousin. We grew up together. He's like my elder brother.
It's so fun. Yeah, I enjoyed all of the scenes that took place there too, because you take us into their daily life. We learn
Yeah.
about their meals and the gardens and all. So it was a lovely place as a reader to kind of land.
I took a True West author there, Mr. Friesen. Steve Friesen came to visit us in Switzerland, and I took him to Einsiedeln into the library, and he was at awe,
I'm
to
sure.
say the least. It's beautiful there. He got a very special behind the stage tour
Yeah.
there with his wife.
Now, I have a question that's a little bit of process, because this is a very compelling, engaging. It's a mystery in many ways, and you give us clues and riddles. As the writer, did you already sort of know all of those, what the clues and the evidence were going to be, or did ideas come to you and then you had to go back and kind of put something that would connect to something? Do you understand or did you just know it? You just full blown, you just knew what you had it all.
It might be eerie to some people when I say that, but a lot of authors will be able to understand. I have a basic idea, and after 3-4 chapters, the story literally dictates itself. The characters take over. It's the characters start to live, and they tell you, I don't want to be shot, I want to be this, that. So I'm not a layout person. I have a basic idea, and I'm a pantser from then on. I'm open to everything. I wrote one book, and I had it all finished, and I took a walk through nature, and I thought, I don't like that ending. It's too predictable. And I went back home, changed the entire ending, and everybody goes like, what a surprise. Never expected that. And it was the same with Arma del Diablo. And to a certain degree, I wouldn't be astonished, and the author colleague said the same, if I walk down the street and one of my characters walks towards me, why in the world did you get me hung? It's like they become, my family says the house going to get crowded with all those characters around. It's true. Once, I don't know, maybe Henry can reconfirm that, but once you finish a book, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, but even with nonfiction, I think it's even worse. Once you finish a book, those characters stick around. They become part of your life. You don't forget them. Just because you write the end, from that moment onwards, you created them. They created themselves to a certain degree, and the group of friends is getting bigger, and the house is getting crowded.
I know just what you mean. I actually very specifically remember when I was writing a short story and had it all plotted out, and I thought I was just filling in the words, what I knew was there, and the characters just took over and started giving me the dialogue, and from there it was just a matter of taking dictation.
Yeah. You're just like the tool. You're the tool.
It's the tool.
And I think that is, for me, that is the thing that touches my soul when I write, because it's an escape route. The world as it is nowadays, especially here in Europe, we have a war going on in Europe, and it's good to get out of this reality and make writing a part-time reality. And that is what I intend with my books, to give the readers an escape route again. for them, because everyday life is harsh enough. It's not a little pony stable with a petting zoo. It's harsh. It's harsh out there.
Yeah.
And if the characters can take over the writer, I mean, like, hopefully they can with the reader as well. You know?
Oh, I think sometimes
Yeah.
absolutely characters stay.
Yeah.
They stay with us. Yes. Do you ever encounter writer's block? And if you do, what do you do about it?
Yes, I am able to get it on the internet. And before this interview, I watched the very last episode once again, where you honor Mr. Jim Christina. And I had a déjà vu because one of my best friends was Mr. Charlie LeSueur.
Oh, Charlie.
And Charlie and I planned on
Oh.
writing a book together. And we spoke about it, laying it out 5 days before he passed. And I still remember the morning when I thought, like, what a ridiculous joke to put that on Facebook. It took me an hour to wake up and to realize it's not a joke. Until I take my last breath, I will not forget the picture of a flower-covered coffin with a black cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Cannot listen to Happy Trails without thinking of him. Charlie LeSueur, I was at the edge of giving up being an author because I was attacked. How can she do Western? She's not even American. It's not in her blood. And Charlie said, don't listen to the naysayers. If you don't feel it anymore, quit. As long as you feel it, don't quit. I made a promise to him, and I kept that promise. And I almost fainted when last year's Wild Bunch Film Festival in Tucson announced me the first female Charlie LeSueur Award. And I look at that award every single day and miss him very dearly every single day. He was an outstanding human being, a superb family man. And we lose some real great people, but I'm happy for him because now he's with all the silver screen heroes fighting in the Eternal Prairie. I'm still in touch with some of his family members, and I will hold that. I will stick to that promise that I gave to him. But Wednesday sucks still without his show. Still sucks. He was one of the people who turned a crappy day into the most beautiful.
He was with us at least once on the writer's block, if not twice. And he was with us at the Santa Clarita Cowboy Festival. At least
the first couple of years, for sure.
Once or twice, and
it's
always
great.
stayed in touch.
It's so amazing. People keep Charlie alive with the award, with remembering him, with still watching his Superstition Mountain series or his riding the old Hollywood Trail. And you guys do the same, keeping Jim Christina alive. And bless you for doing that.
Well,
bless you for doing that, because one day we all become stories. And the people need to continue telling those stories because these people need to stay alive.
Yes.
We owe them.
We felt so blessed to have known him personally and to have had him with us so often as an author at the Buckaroo Bookshop. And then when he got the vision for that show, for the writer's block, to be invited to, write along with him, not being an author and just being a reader and a Western fan, was just an honor, and that he would just keep inviting me back. Next episode, next year, next month, next year, next year, next year.
Very supportive.
So
I owe my first awards to him because he was the guy who said, like, submit your work to the Wild Bunch Film Festival. If not for him, I wouldn't have won these awards. And I won my first awards with him 30 minutes before they rolled me into a severe spine surgery. I wasn't sure. We were not sure if I would come out in a wheelchair or if I would survive it. And the nurse asked me, are you scared? Are you scared? I said, hey, I just won my first award. It's all good now because that's the light at the end of the tunnel. Put me into Nirvana and just do your job right.
Oh my gosh.
I need to travel back to Arizona. I just won my first award and boom, I was out.
Oh, what a story. So Manuela, what are you working on next? I'm just looking at the clock and oh my goodness. So what are you working on next?
I signed contract for book 9, 10, and 11. So I have 11 new books coming up until late 24. 2 series, a 3-book series about a famous female character for the first person, written in first person for the first time, a pioneer character. And nothing much is written about her, fortunately for me. And the other one is a 6-book series about a Western mystery, kind of like similar to Alma del Diablo, but it's a 6-book series. And I have 2 new books coming out with Ronan Weatherford. So fortunately for me, out of the 11 books I signed up, I'm at number 5 now. 4 are finished already. So I'm right on that line.
So obviously you'll be willing to come back in 2024 and catch up with us, right?
I come back earlier because I'm nominated for a Will Rogers Medallion for my short movie. Yes. So I will be in Arizona and Texas in October. And come back in spring. And I'm planning a book tour in 24.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously we're going to be staying in touch because
I would be honored.
And we would love to be advanced
hopefully
readers.
with a better lightning next time.
Actually, your lighting is fine.
It's like 3:30 in the night here, so except for the full moon, which is kind of like covered with clouds, we don't have no light out. The street lamps, everything is off, like energy saving politics.
Okay. Well, I know as we begin to kind of wrap the show, Jim always finds a couple of quotes. Jim, what did you find for us for tonight?
Well, we better get these quotes.
Yeah, what have you got?
This is from the book, and it's actually from our beginning character, Johnny Ringo, who says, "The dang wall dogs are hunting us down on a cruel vendetta as if we was rabbits to chase." And from the movie Tombstone, Doc Holliday, talking about Johnny, says, "Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave."
Oh, Henry, where can people follow you and find out what you're up to?
Oh, well, they can read True West, or they can check out the INSP blog, or go to Henry's Western Roundup at www.henryswesternroundup.blogspot.com.
And Manuela, what's your website or social media? Where can people follow you?
It's www.manuelaschneider.com, and Facebook, also Manuela Schneider, like Manuela Schneider author. Instagram, Manuela Schneider author. Your bookshop, of course, Amazon. I have an author profile on Amazon, and probably on 1 or 2 film festivals.
Yes.
And on the streets of Tombstone, of course, like famous Allen Street. That's where people can always run into me on events like Eldorado,
Yeah. And you just wrote, I think with our friend Jim Jones, you just did some co-writing, I believe.
I wrote a very personal song. It's called Stray, about not being wanted and misjudged by people. And it's a song for the upcoming movie project of the bad guy. And I have a clue to make the bad guy likable and the good guy unlikable in certain situations, because I like to, tell the people there's always 2 sides of the coin. And we co-wrote that song, and Jim Jones, my God, whatever he touches, the way he sings, composes, the way he plays guitar, he turned it into a masterpiece. And he didn't know that I submitted him to the Cowpokes Film Festival and surprised him with having won 2 awards for it already, although it's still not recorded on an album yet. And
that's so fun.
We are gonna co-write more songs with Carol Markstrom, with Jim Jones as well. It's fun. Music is the only international language of emotion that touches everybody, and unites people without race, color difference,
Yeah.
heritage, religious issues. So it's an honor for me. I have always been a lot into music, so it's cool to try something new. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, thank you both so much for being with us. I'm just
Thank
going
you for
to
having us.
quickly kind of wrap the show. Our next guest next week, a returning author from the Writer's Block, where she was always with us when she had a new book out. We'll be talking with Kathleen M. Rogers, and we'll be chatting about The Flying Cutterbucks. And I remember this is a fantastic book. We want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. And if you are tuning in and listening to the podcast or watching, thank you so much for riding along.
Thank you.
And you have our closing thought?
You know, it's always a great day
Out west. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Rendezvous with the Writer with Bobbi Jean and Jim Bell, only on LA Talk Radio.